Welcome back, folks. MACT Ford Edge here, and again I do have this 1997 Ford Ranger with about 92,000 miles on it, and of course I'm going to be doing some radiator flush on this Ford Ranger because I don't know how old the coolant is, but being I don't know the maintenance history on it, it could be 20 years old. I don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and do a coolant flush on it, just like I did on the power steering and other fluids that I'm working on. But this is the next thing I'm working on, and I'm going to go ahead and use this Prestone flush in there. Along with this peak concentrate, I will mix up myself in with distilled water to make sure we have the proper water and proper coolant mixed up in it at a 50-50 rate. And we're going to go ahead and start this flush. So follow along as we complete the cleaning of this engine coolant system and get that up to speed. And of course I'm going to go up in here and release the radiator fluid on this 1997 Ford Ranger. All I got to do is turn this. A little bit easier said than done. There we go. Didn't exactly get everything out. Reservoir's still full. So let's see what we got. Testing. Now we're going to go ahead and put the bucket up underneath here because we're going to go up here to this hose right here. This hose right here. We're going to attempt to drop it down and feed it into that bucket. As you can see, we're draining that into the bucket. And I'll dump a little water in the reservoir. There we go. Reservoir is clean. So we can go ahead and I will hook the hose back up to the radiator. Overflow. There we go. And we will move the bucket back underneath the radiator, and we'll dump a little distilled water in there. Help flush it out just a little bit more. Also a little method to my madness on this. Just to use up a gallon or so of this stuff. It's distilled water. Just to flush it out a little bit. And I'll use this jug to mix my concentrate into 50-50. Dump a little bit more in it. Now I'll go back down and close the drain off. One thing, it's like a wing nut, so it's pretty easy. There we go. Got it closed off. So now we can fill it back up. As you can see, that that's not looking too good. A little on the dirty side. So that bucket had some other garbage in it, but still not looking good. So let's go ahead and fill this thing back up in the radiator and dump some cleaner into it. Now I'm going to use this here Prestone radiator flush and cleaner, and the main ingredient in it is sodium citrate. Now, if you guys don't know what sodium citrate is, you drink it in every bottle of soda you consume. Yes, you are consuming this product because the only thing it contains is sodium citrate, and that's it, in water. So yeah, and if you look it up in your Sprite and 7-Ups, sodium citrate, it gives that that sour taste or whatever it is for the soda. So that's what this is, folks, is nothing but an additive for your soda pops. That's all it is. But I'm going to go ahead and dump it in the radiator, then top it off with some distilled water on this 1997 Ford Ranger. I do not know when it was last changed as far as coolant, so we're going to go ahead and pretend it was never done, which I'm betting it was, but you never know. So let's go ahead and dump this in here. And we'll add water. There you go, we got that in there, so let's get some water in it. We'll top her off with distilled water, and then we'll run her for a while. We'll go ahead and start her up and see what we got. Got it running, and of course, the cap is off. It's still not burping or anything, but inside, I have the heat on full, fan on, and going out so we can feel it warming up here as it warms up. Once we get it to operating temperature and the system's full water, we'll put the cap on, and then we'll just let her run for a while. And I'll take her for some drives, and we'll get it circulated through the system as far as a flush and cleaner. Back for the next installment here of this radiator and coolant flush. I have added distilled water to the reserve tank, and it did not backflow into it. I don't see, it's pretty clear. There's hardly any coolant in it at all. It's like it never happened. But I did get a few runs of about 15-20 miles into this thing. And of course, we're going to drain this cleaner that I put in here, this Prestone flush, and of course refill it with some distilled water, take it for another quick drive, and then we'll probably let it cool down and drain her again and see what color it comes out. And we're going to keep doing it until we get something clear out of it. And once we get a clear fluid back out of it, then we'll refill it with the concentrate peak antifreeze and cool it. And then of course top everything off, and then we will be done with this flush. So let's go ahead and drain this and see what we got. So we'll go ahead and crawl under here. And since the camera angle is so hard to get to, I showed y'all earlier where it was at. So we'll just go under here and drain this thing. Find the relief. And get her ready to drain. There we go. Now she's draining. Still draining the Ford Ranger. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drains on it, and we're getting down to the consistency of, I guess, light tea. Still got a ways to go, but we're getting there. Just gonna take some time to get this 20-year-old coolant out of here, because I don't know that it was ever changed. So we're working at it. We'll get it out here eventually, and then we'll eventually get maybe tomorrow I'll pick this up. It's starting to get dark out. I got to break out the lights, so that tells me it's about done for the evening here. So we'll pick it all up tomorrow and hopefully get it all finished up and get the coolant into it and move on to the next projects. This here is what I'm working with as far as the coolant. Like I said, I'm draining the sixth one right now, but as you can see, it is starting to get a little bit lighter, but I got a long ways to go, I think, before we get it all completely flushed out. Now I've went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 changes, and this would be number 18 on the distilled water for this mud that came out of the radiator. It's probably a 20-year coolant. Unfortunately, I don't have any history, but we're again going to reinitiate the cleaning and get it as clean as I can, and I think I've about got it down to a dull brown, clearish look. So we're going to go ahead and do this one last one, and then I'm going to start adding some coolant to it. It's better than it was. It is not crystal clear water, folks, and I don't think I'll ever get it to that point at this time. I think it needs to have some good coolant in it to help inhibit rust, because right now I think it's just rusting as I let it set. So we're going to get some coolant in there to try to alleviate this, and of course get it refurbished with some good clean coolant. And we're going to go ahead and mix it up in this coolant system here with the air conditioning system. Holds 7.2 quarts. So I'm going to dump about 3.5 quarts of the coolant into the radiator. Then I'm going to top off the tank with a 50-60 mix, and then we're going to see where we have on the measurements as far as if we're at a 50-50 with it. Once we cycle it through and go for a drive, I'll test the radiator to verify it is at a 50-50, and we should be good to go. So this Ranger is coming along sweetly as far as getting all the fluids changed. Well, as you can see, I've changed out quite a bit of fluid here from the coolant system on the Ranger, and at the far end I think I'm about as good as I'm going to get for now. I'm going to run some fresh coolant through it for a while, and then I'll do another drain and fill in another year and see where we're at. But I think right now what's happening is I've cleaned out all the coolant, and now the block and everything else is just re-rusting as I go. And I don't think I'll ever get it to a full clear, but I think we're good enough for now. I got a lot of it, but I do need to add the coolant in there to help lubricate the pump and everything else. So I've run enough of it through right now to get it its 20-year coolant change, if nothing else. So we're going to move on, put some coolant in this Ford Ranger 1997 with 92,000 miles on it and never maintained, basically. So let's go ahead and put some coolant in it, get her started, give it a run, and test, make sure I got it at the 50-50 mix that we need to have it at. Well, it stands to reason that since I haven't pulled out 7.2 quarts of fluid and only about 3.5 quarts, I'm just going to go ahead and start dumping this in here because it will circulate through the block and the heater core and mix in, and then we'll be able to tell after a short drive whether or not I got the 50-50 right. So it'll probably take about 3.5 quarts of this 1 gallon jug, and we'll go ahead and get that dumped in there carefully. Now the thing is, if you guys didn't know it, coolant is light sensitive. That's why you don't see it in clear bottles. It degrades after a day or two of being exposed to the light. So you want to make sure that whatever you do, you close the petcock. There we go. take 101. Anyway, it is light sensitive, like I was saying, and you know, you don't want to leave it exposed to the light because it does degrade the coolant. You can look it up. It is light sensitive. UV light does destroy it. But as this goes in here, we'll go ahead and get it filled up. And again, a 50-50 mix is what we're aiming for. And it won't take this whole jug, but at least we will have good coolant, which hasn't been done for 20 years in this thing. This is a project, like I said, to rejuvenate this Ford Ranger. The radio don't work and everything else. There's a lot of things on here. Suspension wise needs to be refurbished. But it's a project, so we're going to continue on with it and see where we go with it. We're getting there. It should start filling up a little bit. And if I got too much, I can always drain a little out and, of course, add some water to it. So that's about most of it. So we'll go ahead, top her off with a little bit of water. Grab the radiator hose right here and you can gently move it back and forth, and then you can ultimately end up burping it. There you go. Then we can add a little more water to it. And just burp it some more. And we can keep putting coolant in it till we fill it up. I've never had a problem with it overheating, draining and filling it. So we'll just get some of these air bubbles taken care of. Looks like we got it about filled up. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this radiator cap down. And then we got the cold fill line. We'll add a little bit of water into it. Halfway up to the cold fill. Then we will take and put some coolant in there to that cold fill line. And there we go. We now have the coolant bottle filled up to the cold fill. There. Now we're just going to go ahead and start it, and I'm going to take it for a drive. Now I do have it running, and of course we're going to go ahead and button things up. I just realized my coolant tester broke, and I threw it away. So we're going to take advantage of this drive, go buy a new coolant tester. So when we come back, it'll be nice and warm. We'll let it cool down, and we'll check and make sure that this coolant is at the 50-50 mark that we need it to be. Going to go ahead and check this coolant out, see if I guesstimated it correctly. There we go. Let's see where we're at, and it looks like we are in the money. It says for best protection we want to be at 34 degrees. And we're at about 35, below 35, so to speak. So it looks like we are pretty much where we need to be as far as this coolant goes on this tester. As you can see, didn't do too terribly bad on the reading, so I guesstimated it pretty close. But I do have to add a little more because, of course, it is not completely full. That's why we take it for a run to get all the fluid running through it. So I'll add a little bit more coolant and a little bit more of the water here to sort of finalize everything and top it off. And then of course we should be good. That's it, folks. Ford Ranger coolant flush. Got 7.2 quarts of water coolant in this 1997 Ford Ranger, and you know, that's it. 12-year, you know, that's it. It's about what do you say, 20-year-old fluid? I don't know. I sent the coolant out for testing too, and I'll post a follow-up video of all the testing that I sent out for all the fluids that I changed, so that you all can see what the fluids were like. Was it 20-year-old stuff, or did this former owner do some maintenance? Don't know, but we're gonna find out. So, this is MACT Ford Edge, and this is my Ford Ranger project truck. And of course, whatever you do, join up MACT Ford Edge, and you get a hold of me there on Facebook. And of course, subscribe to this YouTube channel to see more Ford Edge and Ranger videos. If you happen to see one, by all means, like it. Yeah, and thumbs up on that. But my feet hit the floor today, folks, and I'm having a great day. And I want you to have a great day, too. And follow on with this, we have some music and, of course, some one-liners from Mercy.